In the glittering glass towers that define Toronto's skyline, a quiet conflict is brewing. This is the battle fought between lawyers, late-night security calls, and million-dollar lawsuits. This is the story of how a dream of Airbnb became a nightmare for thousands of condo residents, and why your condo building might be next to ban them for good. This isn't just about a few noisy neighbors. It's a fundamental conflict over what a building is even for. Is it a community of homes, or is it a hotel operating in the shadows? We are going to break down the two-front struggle being fought over city regulations and condo bylaws. We will look at the chaos of out-of-control parties that turn luxury lobbies into security risks. We will allow and follow the money, exposing the hidden costs that hit every single owner in the building, whether they are hosts or not. And we will get into the high-stake legal disputes that are changing the rules for everyone. This is the real story of why Toronto condos really hate Airbnb. To get this conflict, you have to understand that Airbnb hosts in Toronto are facing challenges on two fronts. First, there's the city of Toronto. Then there's a far more powerful and immediate opponent, their own condo board. Let's start with the city of Toronto. After years of watching so-called ghost hotels swallow up rental supply, Toronto rolled out its short-term rental bylaw. The rules seemed clear. First, you can only rent out your principal residence, the place you actually live. This was designed to kill the business model of investors buying up units just to run them as a full-time Airbnb. Second, you can only rent out your entire home for a max number of 180 nights per year. If you are just renting out of a private room, you are still there. There's no annual cap. To keep things above board, the city makes hosts register, which comes with an annual fee that just jumped to $375 in 2025. That registration number has to be on your listing, or you could face fines up to a staggering $100,000 for corporations. On top of that, every state is subject to the city's municipal accommodation tax. While the city was just 6% for a long time, the temporary rate has been increased to 8.5% to help fund major events in the city. So, if you follow all these rules, you are a legal operator in the eyes of the city, right? Wrong. This is where the second, more difficult front of the conflict opens up, the condo building itself. Many new condo owners are shocked to discover that the city permits means absolutely nothing when the condo board says no. Condo corporations act like their own level of government, with a powerful set of rules in the document called the Declaration. In this document almost always has a clause that's the silver bullet against Airbnb, minimum lease term. Most condo declarations in Toronto and the GTA states that any lease has to be at least 6 months or more commonly 12 months. This single rule makes the short-term rentals of any kind impossible. Other buildings have bylaws that explicitly ban transient or hotel-like stays. So while you might have the city's permission to rent out your unit for a weekend, your condo board can hit you with a violation, notices, fines, and even have legal actions for breaking the building's core rules. The condo rules almost always takes precedence. City permissions does not and cannot override the private contract you have signed with the condo when you bought your unit. This clash creates the central conflict, a system where a host can be perfectly legal by one standard and completely in breach by another. For the residents living next to these illegal short-term rentals, the problem isn't about paperwork. It's about survival. It's the constant anxiety of not knowing who's staying next door tonight. Is it a quiet tourist, or is it a busload of people ready for a party that will shake the walls until 4 a.m.? The stories from residents are a catalog of chaos. We are talking about parties of over 100 people crammed into one bedroom, spilling into the hallways and overwhelming the pool area. We are talking about screaming matches on the balconies, garbage being tossed in common areas, and revolving door of strangers who don't know or care about the building's rules. Security guards who are meant to protect the residents are being forced to become a full-time party police dealing with intoxicated guests who have no long-term stake in the building. For residents, the dream of downtown living quickly turns into a nightmare. Imagine you are a nurse working at night shift, and the unit next door to you is rented every weekend for a bachelor party. Or you have a young family, and you have to explain to your kids why there are strangers and yelling in the hallway every night. The process for dealing with this is exhausting. It starts out with a call to the property manager. If that fails, it gets escalated to the condo board, which might lead to mediation or arbitration. But often by the time action is taken, these guests are gone, and a new group has already checked in. This constant cycle of disruption is why residents feel so helpless. They're not just dealing with a bad neighbor. They are dealing with a faceless, ever-changing stream of people with zero accountability. It's this erosion of safety and community that fuels the animosity and pits neighbor against neighbor. While the noise and the parties are the most visible problems, the real lasting damage from illegal short-term rentals is financial, and it's a cost that every single owner in the building pays. First, let's talk about insurance. A condo standard insurance policy is designed for the residential building, not a commercial hotel. When a unit is being used for transient stays, the risk of damage and liability and claims skyrocket. A guest could cause a flood, start a fire, or get injured in the common areas. When insurance claims rise, the building's overall premiums goes up, and that cost gets passed down to every unit owner through higher maintenance fees. Condo boards are cracking down so hard, partly to control these soaring insurance costs and avoid their policies being voided entirely. Then there are the wear and tear. Elevators, lobbies, gyms, and pools that are all designed for a certain number of residents. When you introduce a constant flow of tourists with luggage and party mindset, these common areas break down faster. The result? More special assessments and higher monthly fees for everyone to cover the accelerated repairs. But the most direct financial hit is for the host who gets caught. The penalties are severe. Condo boards can levy fines up to $500 to over $5,000 in violations. In some cases, that can mean per night. And it doesn't stop there. When the condo corporation has to hire a lawyer to send cease and desist letters or take owners to court, all of these legal fees are charged back to the offending unit owner. This is often done by placing a lien on the property, meaning you can't sell or you can't refinance your condo until tens and thousands of dollars in legal fees are paid back up. Suddenly, the income from a few weekend rentals is dwarfed by the crippling legal fees. For the residents who follow these rules, the financial impact is more subtle, but just as damaging. The instability and reputation for being the party building can erode property values. Who wants to buy $1 million condo in a building known for its out-of-control Airbnbs? This is why the boards are amending the rules so aggressively. They are protecting the collective financial investment of all the owners from the risk of introduced by a few. This is the complicated and emotional issue, and I'm curious to hear from you. Have you had an experience with short-term rentals in your building, good or bad? Are you a host trying to navigate these rules? Let me know in the comments below. Your story is part of the larger conversation. When fines and warnings don't work, the conflict escalates to its most expensive stage, the courtroom. The legal disputes around Airbnb and Toronto condos aren't just simple disagreements. They are high-stakes cases setting precedents for the entire industry. We are talking about lawsuits from every angle. In one shocking case, an owner filed a $1.6 million lawsuit against the city of Toronto and Airbnb. She had leased her condo to what she thought was a long-term tenant. Instead, the tenant secretly listed her unit on Airbnb and rented it out to strangers without her knowledge. She only found out after neighbors started to complain. Her lawsuit argued that the city and the platform were liable for allowing illegal hotels to operate in her property. More commonly, the lawsuits are between the condo corporation and the rule breaker owner. Condo boards have a legal duty to enforce their bylaws. When an owner repeatedly ignores these warnings, the condo board can get a court order forcing them to stop. These court cases are lengthy and incredibly expensive. And as mentioned, the legal costs are almost always charged back to the owner who broke the rules. But the fights are also getting more personal. In a case in Montreal, a dispute between neighbors over noise from an Airbnb spiraled into a legal nightmare. The host sued the neighbors for harassment, but the court sided with the neighbors who were being disrupted. The ordeal ended up costing the host over $315,000 in fees and damages. These cases show just how intense the animosity can get. The courts are consistently siding with the condo corporations that have clear rules, reinforcing the board's power to ban the short-term rentals and maintain the residential character of their building. So, why do Toronto condos really hate Airbnbs? It boils down to the fundamental clash of expectations. On one side, you have the host and platform who sees a condo as a flexible asset, a way to tap into the city's tourism market. On the other, you have the residents and the condo board who see the building as a home, a community, and a stable long-term investment. The city's regulations were an attempt to find the middle ground. But in the vertical communities of Toronto, they were just not enough. The relentless noise, the security risk, the strain on shared resources, and the soaring cost of insurance and legal fees have forced condo boards to draw a hard line in the sand. They have used the power of their bylaws to do what the city couldn't: protect the residential nature of their buildings. The pushback against Airbnb and Toronto's condos isn't just about stopping parties. It's a fight for control over the very definition of a home. As enforcement tightens and legal precedents stack up, it's becoming clear that for a vast majority of condo buildings in the GTA, the dream of Airbnb is officially over. The risks are simply just too high, and the residents have had enough. If you have found this information helpful, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you are thinking of buying or selling real estate in the GTA, please give me a call. My contact information is in the description below. Until next time, see you soon.